Hi and welcome to another video in the RHCE video series. Today's video is on managing file systems using Ansible. So what we've done is on our client server, we've just created a logical volume manually for now. We'll do a further video when we create logical and physical volumes and stuff like that using Ansible, but for this video we're just going to create a file system on that logical volume I've manually created, and then mount that volume post that. I've just logged into the client one so we can just double check. So just doing LBS, and this is the volume I've created at the bottom here. So it's a standard root and swap that's created with the system, and we've got the logical volume of LV1 and the volume group of VG1, and we've just got a simple a small size because I've just created a pretty small partition. So I'll leave that system. We'll just go into the relevant folder. Where am I right now? So I'm at root. So I've just created a file system folder. So I'll just do a clear here. Right, yep, so I've just got my inventory file, nothing else. Okay, before I can do anything else, I need to make sure I have the community.general galaxy collection. So Ansible-galaxy collection install community.general. Yeah, as you can see, it's currently installing this time. So obviously I don't have that package. So that's installed now. So now we've installed that, let's go ahead and create this file. So, okay, so let's create a YAML to create the file system on our client system. So triple dash, and we have the name, create the file system on the, let's create the XFS file system. Let's create a file system. Not very good English. Create file systems. Okay. And we do hosts. Oh, let's do a gather facts to no, and then we're gonna have tasks, and we're gonna have a name. Create the XFS file system. Okay. So we've installed that package already. So it's community.general.collection. Oh, sorry, not collection, file system. So community.general community general is the collection name, and then file system is obviously the actual module we need. And the first option we're going to set is the FS type. So obviously it supports some of the major ones like Btrfs, ext2, 3, 4. We've got LVM, and we've got also XFS, VFAT, swap, and UFS. So we can do quite a lot with that. But for this, I'm just going to set the FS type to be XFS. And then we can also set the options. So you can imagine when it's doing a make fs command with, I don't know, make xfs or whatever file system is currently doing, we can actually also provide the particular flags if you want them. So we could do like a minus cc or whatever on the options field there. So just as you would do, you can actually provide options to the command. We also have another, the one that's required is dev. So which device we're going to create this on. So I've got dev VG1, and then I think it's LV1 on the system. We're going to create on there. We then we've got the force option, and that will cover the rest. So the force option will allow us to say whether we want it to overwrite any file systems, if it sees any. So we can say yes to this to overwrite anything that's there, because we don't really care what's on there. But obviously be very careful with this option, because you may not want it to overwrite whatever it sees on that particular file system. Okay, so let's right quick and give this a whirl. Okay, looking good. And we have a changed on the client, so that's good. Because we set it to force yes, we'll get a change every single time, because it will just create that file system over top. So the easiest way is just to check is to SSH onto that client, so we can double check. Okay, so we're on the client, so let's just do a ls block and just do a -f to get the fs type. So we can see VG LV1, which is on SDB, is LVM2, and we've got a FS type of XFS, which is great. We've got the UUID, which may come in handy later on. I may just copy it while I'm here. Cool. Awesome. So we've created the file system. So let's now go ahead and mount it. So obviously you can do mounts using aligning file and then having it write to FS tab, which is probably pretty easy. But you may want to mount something on the fly. Perhaps you mount something, do some action and unmount it again. That could be something we do potentially. Or it may be that you're going to mount it just until they reboot. So let's go back on here. We need the Ansible POSIX. So again, that will be Ansible-Galaxy collection install, and that's Ansible.POSIX. And wait for the dependency map to complete. I think I've already got this package, but that's just so you cover the command again. Okay, so we've got a skip in because it's already installed. Awesome. Okay, so we've got the create fs command. So to save time, I always recommend just copying the existing YAMLs, because you've already got the skeleton there, and just modify bits and pieces, because you don't want to be writing these things over and over again, especially when they get a bit more complicated. So so we just do a mount fs.yaml. Again, we could have done this all in one file, just again making it nice and simple. So we're going to do now mount file systems. Oh, yep, no, we're going to mount the XFS file system. And we're not going to use community general file system anymore. We're going to, what I'll do is delete all these lines. And we go to the end of the line and make VIM do the formatting for me. Okay, cool. All right, so what I want is ansible.posix.mount, unsurprisingly enough. Okay, so we have a few required options. So the first one is the path. Okay, and the path you can specify in a couple of ways, and that'll be where you want it to basically where you want it to mount. So yeah, there can be anyone on the operating system that you want to mount the disk. So if it's already got an entry in FS tab, we can just provide the path without anything else, and it will also obviously work out what we want to mount and automatically mount all the file system itself. But in this case, we don't have any entry in FS tab, so we need to add that entry. So I want it to bound to var ww, which is onto here. Okay. And then, so we need to also provide a source because we don't have a source right now. Okay. And the source will be dev vg1 lv1. Okay. So we've got the path, we've got the source. So we've got, and then we can then set the state. And we have a few states here. So I'll just go through the options here. So we've got mounted. So if we set it as mounted, it actually does quite a nice couple of things. So it will force it to mount. So it'll do the mount command, and it also add a line fs tab. So you can see where the massive saving is there, because adding entries into fs tab is a bit of a pain, to say the very least. And the fact that it can actually go ahead and do that for you is really quite nice. You can also do unmounted instead of U-mounted. It's quite nice. It will basically unmount the device without changing fs tab at all, so it will just unmount it only. Okay. We can do the option of present, which makes it configure it in fs tab, but doesn't actually do the mount trigger. So that might be like you want it to just mount on the reboot later on, and then from then on it'll always be mounted. So perhaps you're changing something on the system that you don't want to have actively changed right now. You then have absent, so that actually triggers the mount point to be removed, and also mount point to be removed from fs tab, and then also unmounts the device as well. So it will do the whole entire shebang on that one. And the final one I want to mention is really remounted, and basically just does an unmount and remount just to make sure it's just saying mounted is mounted properly, so you can potentially do that if there's something wrong. So what we want is mounted, because we want it to mount it and also store it in fs tab, so for future reboots we have it there and we don't have to touch anything any further. You can also do the source, as I mentioned earlier. You can add UUID, so we could just do UU, so we just delete that, clean that up. We could do UUID equals, and we paste that string. That's the universal unique identifier for the disk. So we've got that if we want to, or we can do the dev method. To be perfectly honest, I normally stick with this. It's just where I've been doing it for a long time. It may not be the best way, but it's the way I know and I trust. Obviously UUID is probably the most correct way of doing it. Okay, so let's give this a whirl. I don't think there's anything really else to mention now. Just double check the documents here. Yep, that's all the ones I really want to cover there. Okay, so I'll right quit. And we're going to run it against our system again. So -I inventory, and then it's mount fs. All but the following are missing fs type. Did I miss the... Okay. So I have forgot. Yes, okay. So I haven't told it what fs type we're using. So how can it work out the fs tab stuff? So I need to give it the... So because I'm giving it present or mounted, I need to give it the fs type as well. That's correct. So that's what the error message was saying, essentially. Give me the fs type, and then I'll work out the rest. So let's give this a save. So it is giving us a very clear message here. Ignore the very start generally, because it's just saying about Python, but this message normally is the really clear indication of what's going on here. So I can see state is mounted. So my state I've set is mounted, but all the following are missing. FS type. So it may tell you additional following missing, and then you can go ahead and go, oh, okay, I've missed XYZ. So in this case, I've just missed FS type, it looks like. So I'll give it another run, and we shall see. We just got a change message. So generally that means something's very happy, but we shall see. So we go to the client on 2.8, and we then go and check. I can see the mount here, so dev mapper vg vg01, and that's mounted to var ww, which is good. So that's looked like it's worked. Let's check the fs tab. So we just do a vim etc fs tab, and we look at the very lowest entry here, and we can see our entry we've created. So that works really quite nicely, and that was really quite easy to do. What we'll do, and we'll just remove it, so we can just test and play with this a little bit. So we just go and it was a mount fs, yep. So unmount fs.yaml, we're going to do it unmount fs, it changes to unmount, and unmount, and we use the same. We can specify the path. I don't believe that's a problem, and we can say state as unmounted. We can then rerun the command again with unmount. We get it changed again. We can then go back into the system, and we can do a df-h. It's not mounted anymore. Great. And finally, let's just have a look at fs tab, and we can see it's still there. So what have I done wrong? So I've unmounted it. So unmount doesn't remove the fs tab. Okay, so what I should be doing is actually absent. So let's go and modify it slightly. So I was expecting that to be removed, but I'm looking at I did the actual wrong fs tab state option. So if I go back in, so it's kind of technically correct. Let's just do unmount system and remove fs tab entry. So we've got unmounted. We want to say this is absent. So absent means it will totally remove everything. We rerun the command. We wait. We've got a success message very quickly. SSH onto system. We check fs tab. It's gone. Great. We then check the mounts. It's gone. Fantastic. And then when we want it to be back on the system, we just do the mount, and 2 seconds later we have the mount back on that system, and we go back and check it. It's mounted. We can have a look at etc fs tab, and we can see at the very bottom there is our entry as well. So very easy to work with both those commands really. I recommend you just play around with those. It's very similar to using the mount command or the makefs command for the making the fs as well. So if you've played with those before, it's generally pretty straightforward really here. Yeah, thanks again for watching my video. I hope it's been useful to you. Yeah, catch you again in the next one. Thank you. Right now I've just popped up on the screen my TeePublic page, that's for any kind of CSG merch, if that's anything you're interested in. Got my Ko-fi page for any kind donations, if that's something you're interested in. Yep, and also just the details of my Discord server, so that's the best place to ask questions. Also, we've got, obviously, you can ask questions in the comments and I'll try and help out where I can, but Discord place is a great place. We've got a bit of a community going there, and you can reach out to myself and also the community, and someone will try and help you. Yeah, it's a great community we're building there. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you at the next video. Cheers.